My name is Mr. Galvin. I'm the Social Studies Director, and I want to be the first, I'm sure of many, to wish you a happy Constitution Day.
Thank you.
Sorry, it's an important day in my life.
Yes. We are fortunate today to have a nice program for you. We have selected four random classes, 9th graders, 10th graders, 11th graders, 12th graders, to get a chance to interact with our new school resource officer, Officer Jenkins. Have you guys met?
Mr. Grayo, please report to the ISSer.
Why can't he go where he belongs?
Not responsible for it.
So, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Officer Jenkins because I've known him since he was one of you sitting in this room back in the old days. 1990?
1990,
Class of 90?
class of 94.
94. All right. So, Officer Jenkins was a former student of mine. He was a very good student. He was a very good athlete. And most importantly, he was a very good citizen in this school. And he was not a problem creator. He was not a problem child. He was a problem solver. The founding fathers who on this day created the Constitution that we still use, when they created it, some of them weren't too sure that it was all that good. Some of the founding fathers felt that you people were at risk because of this, because your liberties weren't protected. So what we're going to talk about today, with the help of Officer Jenkins, is we're going to talk about the Bill of Rights and the amendments that matter to you, the things that are important to you. And I'd like to thank you in advance because many of you submitted questions that are, some of them are very good. Some of them are thought-provoking. Some of them are very tough questions with no easy answers. And as time permits, we'll have a question and answer session at the end. And if your question gets chosen, you get a Town Spa gift card. No, not true. You get nothing but our thanks. So, without further ado, let me introduce Officer Jenkins. Let's give him a nice round of applause.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Galvin,
You're
for
welcome.
inviting me here. I'm going to be honest, it's weird being back here. When I was here, you were way too kind with my introduction. Half-decent athlete, as a student, pretty good citizen. I graduated in 1994, like Mr. Galvin said. I played football here when Coach Burke had a lot less white hair. I was captain of the basketball team, and I was a participant on track. So I was fairly busy as far as the activities went. I went to college in '94 to play basketball. I thought it was high school. So I did not do well because I did not take it serious. I was expecting teachers to keep me under their thumb and tell me that I had to have things done at a certain time or I was going to get a session and this, that, and the other thing. But it's not like that in college. They say, Tuesday class, read 20 chapters of this book by Thursday. And if you don't do it, they don't care because they're just going to flunk you and that's the end of it. So I didn't take it serious and I had a tough time because I was too lax when I first got to college. I didn't take college serious until I started paying for it myself. Then it got real. It got real, and it got real fast. Then I became the type of student that Mr. Galvin was talking about. So the reason that we're all here today, we're going to talk about some of the amendments. And I'm going to do things a little bit differently than how you've had it in the past, whereas I'm not going to sit here, I'm not going to click slides, and I'm not going to hide behind a podium, because I know that when I was sitting in these chairs, and when I was in the police academy, I hated that when people would come up and do that. It's boring, and it's not really thought-provoking. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to do a little bit more of an open forum today. So what I'm gonna have Mr. Galvin do is Mr. Galvin's gonna bring up certain amendments on the slide. He's gonna tell you the legal wording for the amendments. All right, so he's gonna give you the real wording because it's important to know how it's written and to be able to understand how it's written. And then what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna try to translate, so to speak, some of that old English speak into common English. And I'm gonna try to give you some examples that speak to your world today as you know it. That sound fair? Yeah? All right, let's get started.
Does anybody know what the First Amendment is? What is it? Good answer. This is the way they wrote it, 1787. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and petition the government for a redress of grievances. Is that what you were going to say?
Well, like you can have your own religion, pretty much.
Right. That's mentioned in there. So these are the words that the Founding Fathers wrote, and Officer Jenkins is going to tell us what those words mean today.
All right, like I said, like I promised, that's a mouthful to say the least, right? Does anybody talk like that in today's society? No. All right, that was written way back when, where people wrote letters with feathers and things like that. All right, nobody talks like that anymore. So I'm going to translate that. What that means in plain English is, you have the right to express your opinions, to speak up if there's something that's going on that you don't like, something that you don't agree with, as long as it's done in a peaceful manner. All right? Peaceful manner, signs, an organized assembly. All right? We've seen that on TV. There's been a lot of protests lately, right? We've seen a lot of like the Black Lives Matter, things like that on TV, right? Yeah? No? Anybody have TVs here? Yeah? Okay, good. He's got a TV. Good. The only one in here with a TV. So if it's done peacefully, like I said, it's good to go. Now, how does that work for you in the school here? If there was something that you felt strongly enough that you needed to have some sort of a peaceful protest, the first thing you need to do is you need to get clearance to the school. You can't just show up one day and say, you know what? I got Galvin's class first. I don't really like Galvin. So we're just going to organize and I'm going to protest Mr. Galvin's class. So we're all going to get together, we're going to have signs, and we're just going to protest Mr. Galvin. No more Mr. Galvin, no more Mr. Galvin. Not how it works. You have to get clearance from the school, because in essence, the school administrators, that's your government for all intents and purposes. Now, I will say this. One of the biggest questions I get is, can I don't like Officer Jenkins, you arrested me one night. So can I come up to you and can I just start swearing at you and, talking about your mama and all this other crazy stuff? And the answer to that is, it depends. It depends. There are these things called fighting words, and fighting words are words that would make a reasonable person upset to the point where they would feel offended, to the point where they would have to defend themselves. All right, so there are certain words I'm not going to say, because I think you can think of the certain racial words that you could say to me where there's going to be a point where it's not just you expressing your opinion. It is you trying to incite some sort of reaction out of me. And the law recognizes these words, and it's an actual legal definition of fighting words. So you'd have to measure what it is you're trying to accomplish, what it is you're trying to say, versus am I infringing on this person's rights not to be verbally attacked. So, again, the answer depends. Oh, and I'm going to apologize. You're going to hear beeps, dings, people talking. I apologize in advance. I have to keep my cell phone on, and I got to keep my radio on. So I apologize in advance. If you hear like football noises and things like that, that's my phone. All right, so I believe one of the questions that was asked, I know I'm going to jump ahead here to one of the questions was, do I have the right to swear at a police officer? All right, it's a common question. And if what you're saying to me, suppose it is just, I'm dealing with Mr. Galvin. Mr. Galvin, can you come out for a minute? No, I promise I'm not gonna hurt you. We'll do defensive tactics some other day and I'll twist you up in front of the kids, all right? So, so we're dealing with each other. It's just us. We're in an alley. Or better yet, we're behind McDonald's. All right, just the two of us there, nobody's around. Oh, I say McDonald's, now everybody speaks up. Everybody's like, oh, McDonald's, okay.
I've never been to a McDonald's.
So we're behind McDonald's, we're dealing with each other. And he swears during the course of our conversation. Is that arrestable? What do you think? No? Why not? Because it's freedom of speech? Go ahead. Who said it's freedom of speech? Go ahead. He's speaking freely, right. You'd be correct. That is not arrestable at that time. All right? Now, do I recommend it? No. Absolutely not. There's a right way to deal with everybody. Now, different scenario. We're on B3rd. Same thing. I'm dealing with Mr. Galvin. It's during passing time. Now, I'm talking to him, I don't know, maybe I'm asking about his ID, maybe I'm asking about something that happened outside of school, whatever. He starts swearing. He's flailing his arms, spit's flying out of the corner of his mouth, real gross stuff. Everybody stops and goes, and they watch, because nobody can believe that Mr. Galvin's coming at me like that. Does that change the scenario? Does that change your answer at all? No? Speak up a little bit so I can. All right, so it's still good to go? It's still freedom of speech? Anybody else think it's different? Go ahead.
He's like disturbing the peace now.
He is now disturbing the peace, is that answer. Who agrees with this gentleman over here? You raise your hand, don't be shy, there's no judgment here. We're here to talk about this stuff. Okay, so I got 1, 2 that agree with this gentleman. Who agrees with this gentleman in the back? All right. Those of you that just raise your hand and agree with this gentleman, you'd be correct in this case, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Any type of tumultuous behavior, which is fancy talk for any kind of ruckus, anything that's out of the norm, because you have to admit, somebody swearing at a police officer, flailing their arms, spit coming out of their mouth, that's not how a normal person communicates, wouldn't you agree? That's not how you guys talk to each other, right? You don't talk to your boys like that. You don't talk to your girlfriend like that. I know you don't talk to your parents like that. I hope you don't anyway. I see people looking away like, oh, maybe in my house. That's not how normal people communicate. So once you get to that point, if it causes people to stop what they're doing, and now instead of going to class, now they are now focused on you because they can't believe how you're coming at Officer Jenkins, you are now disturbing a school assembly. And if it's in the street, it is breach of the peace. And you are now good to go for an arrest. All right, so a lot of the answers to some of these questions, and I hated this in the police academy when they did this to me back in 2006, but my answer to some of your questions is going to be, it depends. Police work is not a cut and dry thing, and like the amendments would lead you to believe. Sometimes there's plus factors, there's things that play into it. So that's just one example about freedom of speech. We'll go back to that when we get back to the questions and answers. Second amendment?
Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Thank you. Like that one? No? You don't like how that's written either? That's a little easier than the first one. That's an easy one to figure out. Basically, that's just saying that as an American citizen, you have the right to bear arms. Now, keep in mind when that was written. That was written back when we were being attacked. This country's being attacked by the British and whoever else. We were constantly at war. So you had to, maybe everybody had to have a musket or what have you. All right, today's world, not so much. It's a little different. I don't know about you guys. I haven't seen redcoats marching down Washington Street anytime soon. Anybody ever see an army marching down? No? Any Navy ships at Ames Pond? No? All right. So that's what this speaks to. This is just the right to bear arms. You have the right to bear arms. The difference today is there's certain checks and balances you have to go through in order to obtain a license to carry a firearm. All right, that's pretty cut and dry, right? Any questions on that? No? Yes, you may.
I don't know what it is in Massachusetts. Can you carry concealed weapons in Massachusetts?
You can. You need a special license for that. You need a Class A license to carry concealed. Concealed just means very simply, right? Everybody sees my belt, right? You can see all these wonderful things I have on my belt, right? This is not concealed. This is open carry. This is so everybody knows. There's no secrets as to what Officer Jenkins has on his belt. Concealed would be, I have a hoodie on, and it's down over here. I got an overcoat. I got an inside the pants holster. I got an ankle holster. Something along that lines. I have a knife. Well, we'll talk about knives different, but for the purpose of guns, would be something under the clothes. Something that's not readily obvious when I walk into a room.
Any questions on that? Fourth Amendment. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized.
I see you shaking your head. Oh, I was going to get to that. And you know what? What you just did is exactly what I did. First, when I saw it in Mr. Galvin's class in 1990, when I saw it again in the police academy in 2006, keep in mind I was 30 years old and I still didn't know what that meant.
What was his question?
You said, what does that actually mean? Which is an excellent question because I didn't know it either. All right? And here's how it was explained to me. Basically, you have the right to be secure in your person, which means that you have the right not to have me or anybody, any government official with police type authorities just walk up to you and say, hey, Miss Galvin, I gotta borrow you again. So I can't just walk up to Mr. Galvin. I feel like this will sink in a little better if I actually physically show you. Say, hey, Mr. Galvin, how you doing? Good, good? All right, well, I can't just go in and start digging in his pockets. All right, that's on his person. Anything that's in your clothing, underneath your clothing, that's what they mean when they say in or on your person. Your houses, that's common sense. I can't just show up Saturday morning, no school, and say, hey, how you doing? Take a piece of bacon off your plate. Go into your room and start looking around your room for whatever it is I feel like looking for. I have to have a warrant. I have to have exigent circumstances. Exigent circumstances, that's its fancy talk for an emergency. Something that can't wait. Something that if I don't handle it right then and there, could cause somebody to get hurt, could cause some sort of public alarm, some sort of emergency to the public. That's an exigent circumstance. And finally from there would be, another circumstance would be, I get into it with Mr. Galvin. He punches me in the face. He runs. He runs into his house, but I'm on his heels. I'm within a few arms distance of him. Okay? I stopped him in the first place because I thought that he had a gun. Can I go in that house? Who thinks I can go in that house?
No.
Who says no? Go ahead, my man, floor's yours. Why can't I go in that house?
Private property.
What's that?
Private property.
Private property? Okay, because it's private property, I can't go in that house? Okay, all right, anybody else? Go ahead.
I say yes,
You say yes, why do you say yes?
because you can go in on a different charge of assault on a police officer, not searching the house, just going in to arrest him.
Just going to arrest him, right? Because it just happened, right? And I chased him, and I did say I was close to him, right? I like what you're thinking. Who else got something?
I understand, like, if it's, you know, if you have a enough reason, you can just go in, but don't you need, like, don't you need a warrant for something like that?
A warrant?
Yeah, a warrant.
Okay, we're gonna get to warrants. Okay, so you're saying I need a warrant. You're saying I'm good to go. and you said, no way, no how, right? Okay. Now again, the most important thing that I said there, because the answer to a lot of these things is, it depends. The most important thing there is I said I was there because what originally? I had a report of a what? I had a report of a gun. I had a report of a gun. Now, is a gun a serious issue?
Yeah.
Could that cause serious bodily harm or death to somebody? Could that cause a public emergency? It sure could. Now I approach him on it, and before I get how you doing out of my mouth, he hits me with a 2-piece and a biscuit and runs. All right? So that in that particular circumstance, I'm going in that house right after. All right? Now warrants, well, papers. Papers, I gotta be honest with you, I'm not even sure what papers is so old and so outdated, I don't know what exactly the paper spot is. Mr. Galvin, maybe you can jump in on the paper spot.
When I went to high school, paper hadn't been invented yet, so I don't know. Probably just personal.
Personal possessions.
I have a question. Maybe you guys can answer this for me. I'm just curious what your opinion is. When you don't have your own houses, right? It's important for you to know that the house you live in is not yours. It's not yours. I tell this to my kids all the time. You don't own this place. I do. Get out. You know, stuff like that. So your house isn't going to be searched. Maybe your parents' house is, right? Is your locker your house?
No.
What is yours? Is your car your is your car? Is your locker? What do you? Is your book bag? Your backpack? Is that sacred? What do you guys think about that? Roland, you're dominating this assembly. What do you got?
On school grounds, is that what
Your
you're talking
locker?
about? Yeah, and
You
the
have one
bag?
ball?
No, I'm talking about the bag specifically.
Yeah, you're in school, you get the bag,
No.
go in your locker. The bag is too? Okay. You guys believe that? Are they right?
It depends.
That's what I'm asking.
All right, let's break it down a little simpler there. All right, we'll do one at a time. Who thinks their locker is their own personal space and would fall under protection under this? Anybody? No? You'd be correct. Your locker is school property. It is not your property.
What about my locker? What about my desk?
Mr. Galvin's desk in his locker is not his property. That is school property. And that goes for me as well. That goes for me as well. The locker I use at the police station, that's not mine. It's not mine. The chief can go, and chief or his designee can search my locker anytime they see fit, if they have reason to do so. All right, so we're all partners in pain on this one. All right, we're all together. Doesn't belong to us. So you'd be 100% correct on the locker. Book bag you mentioned?
Yeah.
Book bag. Who thinks the book bag falls under, I would say, the effects part of this? Papers and effects. Who thinks they're covered with their book bag? Okay? Who thinks they're not covered with their book bag? There's a lot of people that are just like, I don't know. Huh? It all depends? I like it. I'm going to get this kid a badge at the end of the assembly. All right, all right. The book bag, the way I see it, is protected by this. Because it's your book bag. Unless it wasn't issued by the school, you're not borrowing it from the school. It's your property. All right? So there is some protection for the book bag, but here's where it gets, ready for it? Murky and convoluted, which is police talk for, I don't know, it depends, and confusing. The school has a lower standard, and I'm going to talk about the standards of information in a little bit, but it takes me more to get into your book bag than it does the administration. All right, they can go in a lot easier than I can. I have to be able to articulate certain things, and the school has a lower standard because obviously they have a responsibility to all of you, to the teachers, to the custodians, to keep the school environment safe. So it takes a lot less for them to infringe on this, so to speak. Warrants, who mentioned warrants? Right? Now, a warrant that is when I decide to charge somebody with a crime. I have what's called probable cause. All right, again, we're going to talk about all that. And I type up my report, and I have to go in front of a judge or a clerk magistrate, and I have to swear out this complaint. You know, raise the right hand, say a few words, and they say, you know, is this true and correct to the best of your knowledge, blah, 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 blah. I say it is. Then they say, all right, we're going to get your warrant, we're going to issue a warrant next Monday. The warrant that's binding. That is something you have no right to argue that. You can't say, well, you can't come in, it's private property. No, the warrant is concrete. Once that's issued, that's it. So it's very important that you know that. Big misnomer, I'm going to get this out of the way right off the bat. I'm going to get rid of this big misunderstanding with warrants. Who thinks I have to have the warrant in my hand when I come to make an arrest? Or anybody think I have to have the warrant in my hand? You think I do? Okay, go ahead, talk about it a little bit.
I feel like, because you need to show the person that you have proof that you have permission to enter their property. You can't just like... That's a very well thought out answer. And it makes sense, right? It would make sense. I mean, I'm going to put handcuffs on you, and I'm going to take away your freedom, essentially, right? Once you're handcuffed, I mean, you're not free, right? I'm taking away your freedom. That's a big deal. But you'd be wrong. I do not, no, I like how you're thinking, and to a normal person, which you most certainly are, that is a good thought process. But no, it's not prudent that I have to carry around a piece of paper and then potentially go and arrest somebody who's not going to like the fact I'm arresting them and might want to fight me. You could lie and say that I have a warrant, but you really don't.
I could.
And how would I know, the citizen, that you don't really have a warrant?
So I come in, so I show up to your house as a uniformed police officer, right? Okay, I show up, I say, ma'am, you have a warrant for XYZ. I'm going to need you to come with us. So you're going to say what?
No.
You're going to say no.
I'm going to say, show me your warrant.
All right.
Because how do I know? Like, you could lie to me. Like,
I could. I absolutely could. You could. I'm going to get to that because I like this. I like where you're going with
sorry,
this.
I don't mean to like be like...
No, I want you to do this because this is what I did not have when I was your age. I didn't have this back and forth. There were no SROs when I was in high school.
I'm sorry.
Well, you were an SRO. You were an SRO. There were no SROs when I was in high school. So what you need to know, and again, might as well just cover this now, is school resource officer. That's me. That's me. All right, you do not have the right, and I can't stress this enough, to disobey a lawful order from a police officer. And what I would say to you is, because believe it or not, people do say, no, listen to me, hear me out. People say that to me all the time. People say it all the time. And you know what you tell them is, you say, I understand what you're saying, I have this warrant, is this your date of birth? And are you 123 of 2006? And you're gonna say, yep, that's me. I'm saying, is this your social security number? Yes, it is. All right, well, this is the warrant issued for you, so what we're gonna do is, you're gonna come with me back to the station, I'm gonna show you the warrant, because we do have it at the station, we print it out at the station, and we're just gonna confirm it's you. And if it's not you, you're gonna get my most sincere apology, and I'm gonna drive you home. I'm gonna bring you right back to where you were, but we're gonna do this as quick as possible. Well, I don't have a print. I have a lot of stuff. Anybody see a printer on my belt? No? It's not always prudent. What happens what if there's a warrant issued for somebody, right? Because believe it or not, a lot of people know they have warrants. They know they have warrants. So what do you think they do when they see a cop? Run. They run. Or they do my favorite. Actually, no, they don't. The smart ones don't run. They do this. They do the. I didn't go. They walk real slow. They do this cool neck thing. They just kind of walk away, try to look real cool and blend in. That's what they do when they're smart. That's when they do when they're smart. So it's not always prudent to have a piece of paper on me. That's what I'm saying. You know, sometimes you just gotta go. All right, but that's a good question. All right, let's talk about this informational levels, if I would. Do I have time?
You got about 13 minutes.
13 minutes. All right. There's 4 informational levels, and you need to know these. They're important because a lot of people say, well, you know, a lot of the questions were, well, when do I have a right to have a copy? Can't do this. You have to know what you're talking about. All right? The first is called a hunch. A hunch is, there's that Galvin guy again. You know, why is he over there? This really, you know, that store's closed, and what's he doing over there? I don't know that he's committing a crime. I just don't know. But I have a gut feeling. That's a hunch. What can I do with that hunch? What do you think I can do with a hunch? Ask questions. All right? There's a formal term we have for that. It's called an encounter. I can encounter him. I can go up to you and say, hey, what's a nice shirt you got there? Where'd you get that from? What? I'm just asking about your shirt. How you doing tonight? You good? Good. All right, good. You don't like cancer? I don't like cancer either. Oh, by the way, what's your name? All right. That's an encounter. I can come up, I can engage you in normal, everyday conversation. I need nothing as a police officer to come up and say hello to you.
Do we have to say hello back?
You do not have to say hello back. You can turn and walk away at that point. What do I have at that point? You just turn and walk away. What can I do? I can investigate. Can I run after you and grab you until you don't move? Can I tell you, hey, you stop? No. You know what you do? You know what I do when somebody just turns and walks away and all I get is a hunch? Have a nice day. That's it. I got nothing. I have no legal grounds to hold you on a hunch. All right? The next level from there is called reasonable suspicion. Know this word, know this term, because it speaks to your world. It's very important to your world as students here. Because reasonable suspicion, for me, means that I can detain you for a small amount of time to investigate. You're not under arrest. Some of you might know people that have heard this before. I say it all the time. You are not under arrest, but you're not free to leave. All right? Which means that I'm going to ask you a few questions to kind of figure out where I'm going to go from there. Hold on one second. I'm going to get to your questions. So reasonable suspicion is all the school needs in order to search you. As a police officer, I cannot search you with only reasonable suspicion. Reasonable suspicion means that I can pat frisk you. Okay? Again, Mr. Galvin. All right? Now, you have to know what a pat frisk is. You got to know the difference between a pat frisk and a search. Every time I pat frisk somebody, 99% of the time, they say, yo, why are you searching me, man? Why are you searching me, man? I'm not searching you. I'm pat frisking you. A pat frisk is when you feel the outer layers of a clothing or any soft, pliable container, like a book bag. All right? This is a pat frisk. Sir, put your hands behind your head. Put your hands behind your head, sir.
Touch me.
Interlock your fingers. Interlock your fingers. Okay?
You're not even going to buy me dinner?
Nope. And I gently go down his pockets, real slow and methodical, because I don't want to miss anything. What do you got here? What's this?
It's a remote control.
It's a remote control? Okay. It's a remote control. I can feel it. I can tell that it's not a gun.
Why are we back to the Second Amendment?
Because he hit the remote.
Oh, I hit the remote when I pat frisked him. Okay? I like him. He's on the ball, that kid.
sharp.
All right? So that's a pat frisk,
Am
all
I
right?
free to go?
You are free to go.
All right. Have a nice day.
That's the outer layer of the clothing only, all right? That is not a search. A search,
Oh, boy.
all right? So now we're going to probable cause. Probable cause is what I need as a police officer in order to search you. Probable cause is what I need in order to charge you with a crime. Whether I'm arresting you, whether I am summoning you to court, I need probable cause in order to do that. Now at that point, now I can go in your pockets. Now I can go in your bags at that point. You have to know the difference between a pat frisk and a search. Two completely different things. Because if you're on the street being pat frisked and you start complaining and flailing your arms because you say you're being searched and you're not, guess what's going to happen now? Once you start flailing your arms, but you're not under arrest, but you're not free to leave, and then you start doing this when I come near you. What's going to happen? You're going to get the bracelets. You're going to get locked up. Handcuffs. You're going to get locked up. All right? So I would tell you that the way to handle that is, under all circumstances, and you couldn't be talking to a better police officer about this because I have been illegally detained when I was a youngster. I have been on the wrong end of this stuff. Comply. Don't make problems bigger than they need to be. Comply, do what's asked of you, go along, and then if you feel like you were wrongly stopped, arrested, or what have you, then you file a complaint through your parents, through a lawyer, things like that. The absolute worst thing you can do, because nobody ever wins when they do, I've been a cop for 11 years. No one ever wins when they say, you know what, no, you're not taking me, and they decide to fight. Does anybody know anybody that actually wins when that happens? No, because even if you, right, so that's the wrong way to handle it. You can get yourself hurt or worse. And like I said, even if you can beat me, I have 1,000 friends down the road that are on their way. So you're not going to win. Okay? So we talked about that. We talked about probable cause. Now the final level up from there is beyond a reasonable doubt. Anybody who watches TV has heard that, oh, you need proof beyond a reasonable doubt, right? Yeah. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt is what it takes to actually get you convicted, which actually what it would take to get you sent to jail or what have you, juvenile detention or what have you at that point. That is not something the police deal with. At that point, that is a judge, that is a jury, that is a clerk magistrate, that is something beyond the police officer. We don't deal with that. All right, but those are your 4 standards of proof or information. All right, do we have time for questions?
We do.
All right.
Time for a few.
Go ahead.
So, these are the questions that you people have submitted. Some of them are about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Some of them are just about what it's like to be a police officer in Stoughton. So, we'll kind of mix it up between them. Officer Jenkins, have you ever arrested someone for a serious crime? If so, what was it?
Too many to list. I would say my favorite arrest was a convicted level 3 sex offender, which is the highest level, who just beat his wife up bad. I mean, beat her up bad. And when he saw me, so he had already left by the time we got there. I was on a mountain bike. By the time I rode up, they said, oh, I see somebody pointing, going like this. This is what happens a lot. This way. So I get on my bike, I start pedaling, I go this way, and I see a guy matching the description, sees me and does that cool thing I was talking about with the warrants. He does. And then goes and sits down and conceals himself in some bushes, hoping I'm just going to ride by him. So I go over to him, I start giving him commands, show me your hands, blah, 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 blah. He does nothing. Does nothing. So him and I get into it. So I go lay hands upon him to kind of control him. He starts fighting with me. Giddy up. So him and I, we go at it for a little bit. He didn't win, and he ended up having a stun gun on him too. So now that's another felony on top of what he did to his wife. And that was one of my favorite arrests because this guy was a certified bad person. He'd been convicted. He clearly was not rehabilitated. And he was just an absolute menace to society. It was not safe to have him around children, women, anybody. And I will never get tired of locking up people like that. So that's one of my favorite arrests.
Was that in Stoughton?
No, that was in Manchester, New Hampshire. That was in Manchester Police.
If a police officer pulls me over and wants to search my car, do I have the right to prevent that from happening?
And the answer there is what? No. It's never a good idea. Remember what I said. Even if you feel the officer's wrong, what is the right way to go about it? You comply. You comply at the time. You can always go back and file a complaint and fight it later through an attorney. But if you start protesting at that time and start pushing people away and stuff like that, it's a losing proposition. So I would say if you have some sort of concern, you can voice it calmly. But for the most part, you're better off just complying, taking good mental notes, and then if there was a problem, if it was illegal, then you can handle it afterwards. That's the best way to handle that.
Here's an interesting one. I guess some of you guys are trying to make plans for the weekend. If you are arrested in Stoughton, what jail do you go to? All
right, that's a lay. If you come to
For most of your purposes, you'd come to Stoughton Police Department, you'd be released into the custody of your parents after you were both, or your guardians, or what have you. All right, that's an easy one.
If you are in jail charged with murder, can you be bailed out?
Who thinks that they grant bail to people that are convicted of murder? Or, I'm sorry, that are charged with murder? Anybody? No. Typically, if you're on the hook for murder, I mean, they might grant you bail, but it's going to be like $2 million. Right. Right. It'll be so ridiculous that it's going to be unattainable for anybody in this room. All right. So no, you're most likely not going to get bail. Next.
Have you ever arrested somebody with a gun?
Yes. Yes, I have. Couple gun arrests. The most notable was. It's a perfect question, actually. It was a guy who was parked in a park in the city of Manchester. They have, like Stoughton, they have, you can't be in here from sunset to sunrise type signs. All right, so you are trespassing if you are in a park at 1 in the morning. This car's in a park. I'm with my partner. We see it. We have a hunch. That doesn't look right. Sign's posted. Let's go see what's going on. So we pull up to the car. Car drives away. Car starts turning. No turn signals. Giddy up. Now we can pull the car over. All right. Pull the car over, and he's giving us all kinds of crazy answers as to what he was doing in that park. What were you doing in that park? Oh, I was looking for internet access. Internet access in the middle of a park. Really, internet access? Okay. All right. Any so we smelled marijuana in the car, and long story short, we end up getting him out of the car. We find drugs in the car, we find scales in the car, and this guy has a loaded pistol underneath the seat. So he was good to go. He's doing a nice little stretch right now.
Can I refuse to do something a police officer tells me to do?
Okay, I think we've already covered that, right? So again, sing along it. No. I just want to hammer it home with everybody because it's important that you know this, all right? What are you going to do if you disagree? Because, again, it's unnatural to get stopped by the police. I know that. I know that it's not natural for me to have me be like, hey, listen, stay where you are, and then have me come over and maybe pat frisk you, maybe go through your bag. That's not a natural thing. Nobody is comfortable doing that. I've been a cop for 11 years. I still get nervous when I see blue lights in my rearview mirror. I get it. But what is the proper thing to do? We're going to do what? We're going to comply, right? And we're going to take good mental notes if we feel like it's going the wrong way, right? And then afterwards, you're going to do what? You can file a complaint or investigate or have it investigated afterwards. But at least by waiting afterwards, you're going to be whole. You're not going to get hurt. You're not going to add charges, anything like that. It's just a smart play. All right? I can't hammer that home enough, guys.
I think we have time for one more question. Is there anyone in this room that's been pulled over by Officer Jenkins this week?
Oh, that was you?
Very nice you let me know without a ticket, but you should not make a left turn out of the middle school.
But-
Sign everything. I just didn't see it.
Is that a sentence? Is that a real question?
I followed 2 cars out.
Oh,
too.
okay.
That was me.
But what happened? You complied?
I complied.
You were humble?
I apologized profusely.
And how did I carry it when I came upon you?
You said I had to pull you over. You did this illegal turn in front of all of these people. I said I didn't know there was a sign, and you said, now you know. Now you've been counseled. Have a good day. It took 20 seconds. If I started screaming about how the 2 cars in front of me did it, would that have been a good approach? No.
Teachable moment there, folks. Most cops just want to counsel you and send you on your way. Because you know what happens when I arrest you and when I do all this other stuff? What do I have to do? Who likes to do this? Who likes typing reports? Anybody in here like typing reports? I don't like typing reports. So if I can just talk to you and know that you've gotten the message, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to say, all right, this person, I talked to them, they were receptive to my message. They can go about their day. I can go about my day. I can go look for a real crime instead of people taking an illegal left-hand turn.
Left turn out of the middle school again? No.
Well, hopefully not. Hopefully not.
So you don't feel like you were targeted?
No.
Anybody have any last-second questions for Officer Jenkins?
Yes,
Can I
ma'am.
ask a question?
Yes.
So this week in the news, there in Texas, there was a student who had brought,
Hey, guys, thank you very much.